Hello, welcome to Toast Time. I'm Cassandra, and this week I'm making Swedish Limpa bread. Now, the kiddos just went back to school, and the weather's getting cooler, so I'm doing a little bit more of hearty recipes. This is a rye bread, but it also has all-purpose in order to make it a bit lighter. It has caraway seeds, fennel seeds, anise seeds, molasses, so there's going to be a lot of flavor. And there is orange zest. Now I have regular oranges over here, back behind the bell, but I usually like to use clementines or mandarins, things like that, for the zest because it has a more robust flavor. And I want that to come through in this recipe. I have not made this before, but I'm excited. And the pumpernickel was such a huge hit. I'm curious to see the difference between them. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is start getting the milk and butter melting and coming almost to a simmer. Not quite, but you'll see kind of little bubbles around the edge of it. And that will mean we turn off the heat. Then we let it cool to a certain temperature because we don't want to kill the yeast. All right, so that's the butter and the milk. Turn that on. And while that's getting going, we're going to grind up the seeds. Now, you can use ground, but you kind of want them coarsely ground. So you want to have more of that flavor in each bite. But if you want to use ground, that's fine. I have a grinder that I use specifically for herbs, and I have a separate one for coffee. And I have seeds here, and then I'm going to put in my other seeds, and it's 1.5 teaspoons each. All right, so I just like to put them in the lid, give them a little mix together there. And I have my grinder set up right here. Just dump them in and get a coarse grind on this. All right, so then from here, I usually flip it over, give a little tap tap, and then I take the lid off. So then I have all of my seeds ground right here. And I don't have to mess with the blade anymore, and it's ready to go when we need it. So I'll just set it right here. The butter is starting to melt, and I guess that's it for now. The milk and butter came to just that little bubbly rim around the edges. Now I turned off the heat, and it's going to cool down to 100 degrees. As I am waiting for things to heat up or cool down, different things, I like to clean up my workspace. And that way, when it's at the end, then I'm all done. I don't have to go crazy cleaning up. Now, while we're waiting for this to cool down, I'm going to start getting this mixture ready. I have the all-purpose and the rye flour in here, already measured out. I'm going to add in the seeds that I ground up. And the salt. This is the thermometer for measuring when it gets to 100 degrees. I'll test it right now. We are still at about 170. It's going to take a little bit. That's fine. But until then, I'm going to get zesting. Have my microplaner here, and I put down wax paper. Set this on the surface that I'm working on, and just start zesting. It's only a teaspoon, so I have my teaspoon right here, and I'll put it up here just so that I can have a measurement in my head of what it should look like. Probably not going to put it in there, but I have it for reference. I got a good amount out of the mandarins. I did do some on the regular orange as well, just to kind of bulk it up a little bit more. But I wanted to make a quick note on here. If you're zesting any kind of fruit and you get past the color, that's when you stop, because you don't want to get the white part, that rind is really bitter. And that's going to add not the flavor that you want to your your product. So you just keep it moving as you're doing it. Just keep moving it like this as you're doing it, so that you don't get that bitter part. So I have my peel, and you're going to be able to see when I pick this up all the oils. So this is citrus oil. It's from just doing that zesting. You can see all of that wetness right there. That, we want to try and get as much of that as we can into here. I'm going to put this in so that we don't lose more of the oil to the wax paper. All right. The molasses is room temperature. If it were in the fridge, it would be very difficult to pour out of here. Let's see if I can make it so you can see it right here. Okay. So I'm going to do the quarter cup. There it is. And I'm putting that right in here. Spatula. And doing this while the mixture is still warmer than our end temperature will help it to incorporate and melt a bit more. Get that mixed in. We're down to 146 right now. 128. 109. So close, 102. Yay, we did it. It's at 100 right now. And I'm going to sprinkle in the yeast. Give it a little bit of a stir. Then I will put this on the mixer with the dough hook. You're supposed to let this sit for about 5 minutes, but I know that the yeast is active, and that's all you're doing when you let it sit, making sure the yeast is awake and alive. Then you're not wasting the whole batch on something that is not going to rise. All right. You can smell all of the elements. I can smell the aniseed and the caraway, and even the orange zest, which is good. All right, we'll let this go for a few minutes, and then it'll come back. All right, I had it going in the mixer for a bit. It's supposed to get not sticky. I have a ways to go here. I put some flour on my board. I'm going to scrape this out. First, I thought it was just because all of the flour was staying stuck at the bottom, hoping that that was it. But I'm going to adjust the recipe, and I'm going to try it with less milk so that we don't have to add more flour. Because the more flour we add, it's going to be tougher, but we're also going to lose some of the flavors of the things we put in it. So I don't want to add too much flour, but I can't do it like this. See? Okay. All right. We'll keep going with it. Have my flour there. And I don't want it to right away stick to my hands horribly, so I'm going to sprinkle some of the flour on top and kind of fold it over. You know what? I'm going to get a bench scraper for this. That's the way to do it. Okay. And you just fold it over onto itself. I'm going to work this with the bench scraper for a little bit. Then once I'm able to handle it, I'll knead it. And we'll see where we stand at that point. It's going to take a little while. But the phrase is, and it's fun to say, stick sticks to stick. So if you have the sticky dough on your hands, it's going to stick to your hands more because the sticky is attracted to the sticky. So you want to try and wash your hands once you can feel that the texture is changing, because then you'll really be able to feel how your dough is progressing. It's getting better. I added some more all-purpose flour. But we're working the gluten now, and it's starting to come together better. Still sticky, but it's nowhere near what it was before. It was just kind of like gloppy mush. Well, that was a workout. Okay. We have a dough. See here, it's not sticking to me. Yay. All right. I have a glass bowl here. I'm going to put the dough in here so it has a more even rise. And just a little bit of oil. Swirl it around a bit. Grab this. Put it in here. A little bit of stick. That's okay. That amount's okay. And then give it a swirl. And then I'm going to flip it over. Give it a swirl again. And cover it up. I use shower caps because they're reusable. There are some sturdy ones out there. I usually do Dollar Tree for the packs of the clear ones. You get 6 of them and they last a long time. All right, I'm gonna let this rest for about an hour. It's not going to double in size, but it's gonna get puffier. All right, see you after. All right, this recovered a lot better than I expected it to. This is after about an hour, and it's beautiful. This is actually a grill liner that I cut to the size I wanted for some of my pans. It works great, just like a Silpat. I'm going to take this and turn it out onto here. Kind of like this shape that it has right now. I do want to elongate it a little bit so it's more of an oval, just a tiny bit, because I don't want to knock out the air that has formed. I'm going to kind of, and this is going to sit again like this. And now it's in its shape, so it's proving instead of rising. And I'm going to cover it lightly with some plastic and let it do its thing. The dough has spread out a bit and puffed up more. It's very puffy and light right now. I'm going to put it in the preheated oven. So this is preheated now to 350. I'm putting it in for 35 to 40 minutes. When we knock on the bottom, we want it to be hollow sounding. That's it. I'm going to put it in. Here we go. All right. Here it is. Here's the loaf. It's still a little bit hot here. Show you. Very pretty color. And the sound sounds hollow. We'll cut this open. Let's see. It smelled amazing while it was baking. I'm excited for that. And this is a lot fluffier than I expected it to be. It's still hot, so I probably shouldn't be cutting it quite yet. But here's the inside. I don't know if you can see all that steam coming off of it or not. But nice and fluffy. The orange smell is really coming through. And let's see. Does anybody want a taste test? It's very hot, okay?
Hello.
The
Hello, do you remember me?
rye flavor really comes through. I think the most forward flavor is the caraway. The orange is subtle. It's more kind of in the smell. It's good. I'm not the biggest fan of rye bread, but this is a really nice light rye bread, I think, the texture-wise. And the crust didn't harden up too much, but that's also probably because it hasn't cooled completely. Normally what happens is in the oven, it seems really crusty. You take it out, and all of the steam and the heat from the inside has to go through the crust so it all softens up. And then once it cools completely, that crust hardens back up. I'm expecting that's what's going to happen here. The flavor is really good. The kids seem to like it, and my husband, thumbs up. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me for Toast Time this week. And if you do enjoy the videos, please like, subscribe, follow, comment, all of that. I enjoy seeing everybody's comments very much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Toast Time.